I've got a confession to make.
I need to get this off my chest. As a business owner, we all make mistakes.
I've got to confess.
And we're doing it all again, Mr. Kim Barrett. Another episode of Confessions of a Business Owner. So happy to be here. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you, Mr. Charley, sir. Yeah, pumped to go into this episode. I am very excited about this topic.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would absolutely light up at this. And I had an interesting thing happen to me, which I'll share more about on this episode shortly. But it actually made me change what we're going to talk about today. So I'll lead straight into it. What we're going to be talking about today is how to build strong relationships in business. And I think this is something that everyone in business must get into. But I want to just take a second and I want to define what I call a strong relationship in business. Now, I'm not talking about that relationship where someone might actually send an email for you or might rock up at an event for you or kind of knows you and your Facebook friends. Like, I'm talking about the type of relationships where someone actually, really is looking out for your best interest. And if you were in some sort of, situation, this is a person you could count on and call on. And a really good example of this is you and me, Kim. Like, many a time I've called on you for things and I'll actually say it's a mutual thing though. I think we've both helped each other a lot along the way, but legitimately, if I saw something that was of interest to you, I'd go out of my way to grab it for you, or if I could do something to help you, I'd always go out of my way to do it. So what we want to do is really help people understand how they can create more of that and less of the surface level stuff. Now, you're an absolute master of this. I tell you what, I would love you to lead off with, there's a really great story you've told me before about a bintang that has turned into something.
Yes.
Let's kick things off from there.
All right, so I'll tell the story. So Bintang, the beer, for any of our tens of thousands of international listeners, beer from Bali. So I was at an event and I was speaking and as you do, dropping some knowledge around Facebook ads and things like that. And each evening there was two other speakers and really kind of hit it off, had dinner with them, had a few glasses of wine with them. And, I think it was like day 2 of a 3-day conference. And they were like, we've been, they started out like, everything we do is kicking on really well. And they're like, actually, what about this area? Like lead ads, we're running some lead ads at the moment to this, what have you kind of found from that? Start talking a little bit and just sharing a little bit. And they're like, okay, cool. And it got to the last day. And then they're like, hey, actually, our lead ads are really not doing super well. They're actually not really converting on what we want them to do. Would you is it possible for you to maybe be able to have a look and tell us what the problem is? We'll sort things out with you. And I was like, yeah, cool. So I jumped in their account, had a look. They gave me the logins and I was like, glaringly obvious one thing. I was like, cool. I fixed 3 things in there, made some changes, updated it all. And they said, what did you find out? And I was like, well, there were 3 things wrong. They're like, how much will that cost us for you to fix it? I was like, it's already done. They're like, it's already done? I'm like, yeah, I just did it for you. I was in there. It didn't take me long. I'm like, so thank you so much. What can we do for you? I was like, look, next time I'm in Bali, they lived in Bali. It's like, next time I'm here, how about you buy me a bintang and we'll call it evens. And they said, surely, no, just tell us. I was like, no, it's cool. Next time I'm here, buy me a beer and we'll call it evens. And they messaged us back later that night and they're like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, hang on. Did I do something wrong? Did I do something bad here?
You've destroyed the account. You're on the hook.
Yeah, exactly. You got the account shut down. They're like, oh my God, we got our first sale because they were going to an order form. We've got our first sale come through already. So it's $2 ad spend for a $47 return. They're like, you're a genius. We're going to buy you all the beers that you want. And I was like, cool. I'm down with that. So next time I came to Bali, obviously hung out. They invited us to stay at their place. Had several beers with them and red wines. And that the people I'm talking about are Rhonda and Brian Swan, who have been on the podcast as well, with Charley sharing their confessions. And from there, over the last pretty much we just got our notification, our 2-year friendiversary on Facebook, has had me speaking at events all around the world with them and for them, and tremendous things, hanging out with them just recently in Orlando and Florida, absolutely amazing stuff, all from basically one beer, a bintang, and me happily jumping in and just doing things. I had no expectations of anything. To be honest, I didn't even really I know who they were, like from an online standpoint. I have no idea what they did though on the back end stuff. And then suddenly I'm speaking at events. They're flying me out and doing a heap of cool stuff together, which is pretty awesome.
I love that story, and I've heard it a few times, and even listening to it again, it's so Kim Barrett on so many levels. And I think you are one of the masters of building relationships. And I even said this before the actual show, is like, I often will steal some of your tactics to build relationships in my own world, because I just think you do it so well. And it's the famous saying, it's like, what do they say? That trial and error can be expensive. Just find people that are doing it and model the greats. So that's what I've done here. But just amazing. That one little thing, it's like, how long did it take you to fix that lead ad?
Oh, it was like 30 minutes kind of thing, 30 minutes max.
So you invested 30 minutes with these guys, expected very little in return, which I think is an awesome little hint there. In the beginning stages of building relationships. But then the ongoing and what that's turned into is like, even I've spoken at their events because of this bintang now. Like the ongoing from that is like, you're speaking at events in Bali, you're doing other work with them as well. And I'm sure they, even when things come up, they go out of their way to contact you and help you out from that, all from that one situation. So that's definitely what we're talking about here. That's one of those key relationships. So very well played, Mr. Kim Barrett.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I've got another sneaky one I'll share with you after, which I know you'll love. You've kind of been modeling this a little bit, but I'll show you the next level of it. This is an exciting one. But what about you? What, like, I know you've got some good ones, but I think you've also got some like what not to do, if I'm correct as well.
Ooh, so I'll do this in two parts because I think it's really cool. And the first one I'll say is that Outsourcing Angel wouldn't exist today. So my company with Lynn Padetti, which has been phenomenal, I'll call it a success, but it's been a really good business, successful business, but it would never have happened if we didn't get our relationship off the ground in the beginning. And how we went about that, I suppose, is we met through a mastermind event. And we began kind of, I'll say, Facebook messaging and checking in with each other, and then subtly growing into that relationship. So Outsourcing Angel wouldn't be here today if I didn't invest the effort and energy into growing that relationship with Lynn, and her also putting in that same effort. But I won't go into that one specifically because I want to go into this. Like, this is a funny story today, and I will not be naming names. I will make this very clear, but I will highlight this is a really big what not to do. So someone approached me because they would like to be in the mastermind group we have, the association. So they've come up to me and said, look, I really want to be in this group. I think there's a lot of benefits here that are right for me, but I've got one little problem where it's like I can't actually pay until for a couple of weeks. Now, I must admit, this is my fault. Red flag straight away is I was a sucker and I said, don't worry about it. Come in, like you can pay it on the day. But I said, like, when, this day is up, I'm going to send you a order form and you're going to complete to come and be a full-fledged member. So I know better. Don't look at me in that way. Don't look at me. But it was all cool from there. Now, the other day, that date came around when I was going to send them the order form to complete. And they'd been in the group. They'd been an active member and all the rest. And the reply I got was very, very interesting. So this person had said, look, I don't think this is right for me. But I would like to know if there's still an opportunity for me to start running some group calls for your group, speak at your events, or be on your podcast. And I was like, really? And I was a little bit stepped back, but I just want to break this down in simple context. Is as I like to do, I like to lead and I like to help people. And I should point out, I didn't try and help this person along the way with a few things as well. But then on the back end of things, to pull out on the agreement we'd had, and then to try and basically still get what they want out of the relationship. And I looked at this and I've gone like, in reverse, like she could have got, in this case, everything she wanted if she'd have played her cards a little bit differently. But because of the way she'd approached that relationship from there, it had led me to think, well, actually, you're not really integral. You're not a person who does what they're going to say they do. And then you're not paying attention to these other factors from here. So I had a good little chuckle, but that is plain out how to not strike up good relationships. That's a good way to burn relationships.
oh, it's a burner and a half, and especially in the industry that is so small. Because obviously you won't say it, but I'm sure if someone else mentions they're going to do a deal with someone, you'll be like, "Ooh, I can't tell you everything, but watch yourself." Like it just happens. And the
I
biggest thing
can't
is that,
recommend this person now. Like I couldn't. It doesn't
Yeah.
sit well with me.
but as well, if you go into a community and then say it's not for you, but you want to leverage the community, that doesn't make any sense. Like, of course it would be for you if you're in there and but you want to pitch and speak and be on the podcast about the same community. Like, wow, that makes no sense.
Dude, I'm like, okay, so the first thing I want to preface here is I don't understand what's going on in this person's life right now. That's the first thing I want to say. And I always like to go from things like maybe there's other things going on that I don't know about. Maybe this person's just had a divorce. Maybe this person's got a sick kid. I always like to go with, sometimes we don't bring our best of ourselves into business. I know that I've had other things going on in my life at points and probably have not been the best business owner at times. But the irony on this is the end comment I got from this person is, I would still like to refer people to the association. And it's like, but it's not good enough for you. Why would you? Like, there's an integral issue there.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Now, the reverse of that, if this person had, like, I could see that's what their intent was, and this person wants to be a speaker and all the rest, and good on them. Like, I'm all for people that want to do that. But on the reverse of things, if this person had gotten involved in the community, been a full-fledged member, is that she could have got all those things with my endorsement in playing her cards in that way. So from my perspective, I'm like, this was a layup. Like, this should have been an alley-oop. But instead, we've managed to actually like burn that one from there. So I want everyone listening to kind of take note of that and have a, as we're kind of digressing here, but a little bit of a funny one.
Yeah. Well, as you say, like if you go into the conversation with your cards, like, and I always do this, like if I actually am looking for something, my cards are on the table. Like I do the whole, Warren Buffett style, no negotiations. Like, cool, this is what I would like, if possible. This is my ideal scenario. Unless it's someone like coming to me for something, then I'll do the opposite and I'll be like, cool, I'll help you with whatever. If it's someone that fits for my stuff, no questions asked. But if I'm going to someone, it's like, I would like this, please. Like, this is the outcome. What can we do to make this happen? Like, even someone asked me the other day, they're like, oh, I want you to be featured on this like Facebook ads, like a summit thing. And I looked at the people on there and it's like Ryan Lee, Nicholas Kusmich, and all these guys. And then there's like 4 rows of speakers. And they had me they hadn't got me on yet because I hadn't confirmed. I was like, look, I'm absolutely love to do it. I love that you've listened to my stuff before and you like it. What would have to happen for me to be on the top line in between Nicholas and Ryan? Like, what has to happen for that to happen? He's like, just because you asked, man, I'll put you on there. I was like, cool, great. It's like, said I'm going to do it, but what has to happen for me to be on the top line of speakers, not on the 4th line?
Geez, you bring up a really good point there about just making it clear what you're looking to get out of a relationship, or being transparent and clear on what you would like to gain is absolutely okay. I don't have any issues with that. But at the same time, being able to give and contribute at that level is really, really important. So, to be on that top 100%. Line is like you're giving to this summit, you're doing a lot of things for this person to help them. So it's a really, really smart way to play it. But what I thought would be cool, Kim, is I thought we could go do some back and forth in some of our kind of top tips or best ways to build strong relationships in your business. Now, I've pre-prepared my 3 points as I normally would. I'm hoping you have prepared something as well. But did you want to lead this one off, or do you want me to go?
I'll go. I'll lead one off because I have an example. I have outlined an example. So the one of the best ways for me, right, is when building business relationships is doing the old, I don't have a proper term for it. I'm just going to call it the off the shoulder. So it actually doesn't involve you, right? And that's the best outcome possible. So for example, I'll give you 2 examples. Rhonda Swan came to me saying, Kim, I want people to come and speak at my event. I'm already speaking there. I go, cool. Let me give you the list of all my homies that are going to blow your socks off. Calvin, Charley, blah, 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 all these people, right? And then they build all great relationships together. I'm the catalyst of it. So every time they look at Charley, every time they look at anyone else, they're like, oh, that was so great that Kim introduced us, right? Absolutely like hands-free and clean of me. I didn't even have to do anything. But because I do that connection, right, and I help those people out, dramatically makes a difference. I just did one the other day. So someone is running an event and they said, I need speakers. And they go, Kim, who do you know that's awesome? I'm like, I know these people that are awesome to speak at event that we're both going to. I'm like, I know these people. They're really good. It's like, cool. Do you reckon that you'll be able to get them? Like, can you get them to commit and then just let us know? I'm like, sure. I go to them, have a little conversation. I'm like, hey man, like, are you doing any speaking at the moment? They're like, yeah, like, love doing it, want to do more. I was like, man, look, I don't know if this is possible, but what if I was potentially able to get you to speak at this event? Like, oh man, that would be epic. I'd owe you a huge favor. And on the other side, they're going, hey Kim, I need speakers. Like, we'll owe you a huge favor. And then I just go, hey guys, let me just do a little mutual introduction here. See if any magic happens. And then both of them are like, Kim, that was awesome. And then I'm just sitting over here chilling, drinking champagne.
I would clap my hands if it wouldn't make this microphone peek out. I'll do a little like soft clap. This, dude, that is so good. And do you know what? I'm sitting here. I'm like, you've done that to me, and I totally feel that it enhanced our relationship and even made me want to do more things for you.
Yeah, it's hands down. It's like
everybody
it's
wins.
Like it's everybody wins. It's little. It's like the triad of business growth success. I'm calling it.
Oh, that is a really clever move in building strong relationships. So just connecting other people with people they need to be with, or connections they need made, actually builds up your relationship points, or brownie points, the Kim Barrett trademark terms here. That is so clever.
Well, but let me give you the bad way that I find that people do it, right? So in that relationship there, in that regard, I pulled off both, like I finalized not the deal, but I finalized the arrangement. I was like, cool. For example, with you and Rhonda, I was like, Charley, let's get you speaking there. Yes. Rhonda, he's cool to speak. Yes. Cool. These guys, I'm like, get you to speak. Yes. You confirmed. You can do it this day. Cool. Let me see if I can do the intro. The worst thing I see, and not that I find it bad, but it's like, people always go, oh, Kim, I've got someone for you to speak to. I'm like, cool. And then they're like, so here's their phone number. I'll just tell them your name and you call them and do all this stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. And like, I appreciate the introduction 100%. Like, don't get me wrong. But I always go, wow, like I have to go on there, edify myself. Like, it's basically the same as me getting a lead through a funnel and having to speak to them, as opposed to a relationship where it's like, Kim, let me jump on the phone with you. Guys, I've already spoken to you about how amazing Kim is and how you need to do this stuff with him. Now, let me just introduce you to him. He's right here on the phone with me now. Like, it's a very different approach and conversation. And I find the level of appreciation that you get from it is better. And it doesn't take any more time, but the outcome for you as the instigator of that is like 10 times more.
I agree with that so much. It makes such a huge difference when you kind of lead the conversation between the two people. And I agree. And I've had both situations happen to me, and I've been involved in that, and like completely agree that the outputs change. So that is such a killer move for anyone out there looking to build stronger relationships. Number one, connecting the people around you and leading those conversations.
Yeah, 100%. I find this works so much easier. But what's one of your points, good sir?
Well, I'm going to start at the top. Whenever I look at relationships, this is something I see quite often, is that being intentful with the relationships you want to build. So what I mean by that is a lot of people let their business relationships kind of happen by accident. It's who they meet at a networking event, or who they meet at an event or at a mastermind, and they kind of settle for the defaults. And I don't always think that's the best approach. So what I always like to say with is that if you're wanting to build better relationships or more relationships in your business, is be intentful for the ones you want to build. So I'll give you an example of this, is that for me, I wanted to build more relationships in marketing. So what I did was join a marketing mastermind with you. And then I was able to hang around more marketers and intentfully build more relationships with people in marketing. Now, I suppose the bad way, or the not so great way to go about that, is if I just went to a local networking group, like how many marketers are going to be in that room? Probably not many. And then of that, even if there is a marketer, how can I be guaranteed that they're a good marketer? So it's like
you probably can't even go because you're a marketer as well, and they're only allowed to have one per industry or something.
Oh, stab. I hope they get the hint if they ever hear that. But one of the things I really look at from there is like we can be a little bit more strategic and intentful with the relationships we want to develop. So that's a really important one. And I think the easiest way to go about that is to selectively join either mastermind groups or events, or have things on that kind of increase your chances of meeting the people you want to meet, or hanging around the people you want to hang around. And I feel like that's really important. But behind that is also be willing to review your relationships. So in the past, like, not all relationships stay at the same level. Some grow and prosper and some diffuse. But being honest with yourself is like, okay, well, in the last year, this hasn't been a great relationship. Maybe I want to let go of this one to make room for a new relationship in something that I'm interested in. And you might have changed as well. Like, as I said in this example here, like I joined a marketing mastermind because I wanted to learn marketing at that time. These days, I'm not even in marketing at all. Like, I go to you for that. So other relationships in different fields are probably more useful to me and better for me for where I want to go at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. It's so true. You always need to do that little bit of audit of the circle you're in for sure.
Well, we've got limited time. It's like I don't have all the time in the world. There's only, they have this rule is you can only maintain 150 relationships in your life total. Properly is the rule. You might beat that, Kim. You might be the exception. But the tribe effect, which was a really interesting study, is like that's the maximum amount of relationships you can actually nurture and stay engaged with and remember, I guess, or stay relevant in, if you will.
That's so true. Very interesting. I had to do my head count and see how many I'm at.
I'm worried I'm going to get cut now.
I shouldn't have told him that.
So point number 2 for you, Kim.
Point number 2, and this is interesting based on what you just said, right? But I'll give a bit of explanation. So it's don't be classist, right? Because I feel like when people go for relationships, they're like, oh, I have to only talk to the person that's at this level, and that's the relationships that I'm going to build, right? And I'll give you 2 good examples of this where, and I think that's where you go in, like if you go into any situation you're in as a blank slate or as like kind of clear, no expectations or anything like that, then it allows you to not have this classist effect, right? So then I know one of your points I'm just kind of treading on, but I'm not, trust me. So
you can go for it. It's all yours. Tread away.
So if let's just say you go into, for example, I was just at Funnel Hacking Life, and there's people that fall into the 2 Comma Club, right? Let's just say that you went there and go, I'm only going to speak to those people because I know that they're successful, they've done things before, and they're going to hit it out of the park. You leave the other 3,000 people in the audience, like if you're only trying to focus on them, right? If you're just trying to hunt down those people and be, and I was one of them, a 2 Comma Club earner, but there was so many people that I was talking to, and there was one chick, and I was just like, we're just waiting for everyone else to come in, having a really good conversation, asking her questions about her business, asking her if she's running ads, giving her a little bit of feedback and insight on stuff that I've done. And it turns out that she's actually a writer for Entrepreneur. She's a writer for Inc. And she's gotten people on John Lee Dumas's podcast before. I'm like, wow. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, don't freak out. Don't ask her to put you on John Lee Dumas's podcast right now. Like, just chill. And then afterwards, she's like, she created a group, and because I had a good relationship and chat with her, she added me into this group about, journey to the 2 commas. And I was just giving some feedback, and she's like, want to run these ads coming up, and I just ruined all these ads. Now 5 people registered for my webinar, and I forgot to put the links in and all this stuff. And I was like jokingly, haha, maybe you should just get me to run your ads, and you get me on Entrepreneur on Fire. And just left it just cheekily, tongue poking out emoji. And then she messaged me and she goes, hey, have you applied for Entrepreneur on Fire before? I'm like, no. She's like, good, that means you haven't been rejected. Let me shoot him an email and see what I can do. I'm like, yes. Right?
I love, I've got to pause right there. I've got to pause. I love that you subtly dropped that. You secretly and cheekily let her know what you want, but in a completely coy way. I like how you did that. But great point. Continue. I'm sorry I cut you off there.
Yeah. No, it was so then we did that, and it's like she's going a bit of back and forth. She shot him an email. She's trying to tee things up, and I said, of course, I appreciate this so much. Of course, I'm willing to look at anything for your ads, help you absolutely crush your webinars and stuff, hands down, not a problem. But if I was someone who was only shooting for like 2 Comma Club people and only having conversations with them in the mornings, then I would have completely disregarded that relationship, right? Because that's why I think it's important not to be I'm saying classist, but it's like, never discount someone just because of your perceived status of them. Like the best conversations and sometimes the best JVs have been from people I've never assumed anything of. And then I'm like, this person's awesome. Like I want to do more cool stuff with them. And I won't give my second example is cool, but I won't give it because it would take too much time.
All right. I just want to highlight something there. You still had a filter on in that room though. Just to be clear, you were classist of the point of it's someone that's at a ClickFunnels event. So you did say, well, the chances of everyone in this room being of some nature of, where you're headed is there. Wasn't an open event, so you did still have it a touch stacked, But I do completely agree that you can shut down your options too far. Like, I think we can both agree that, like, we've been in rooms together, or I've been in an event, and there's been a dude that literally has social issues. Like, he doesn't speak or interact very well, probably dressed, not in a perceived way, but he's probably like a secret billionaire. Like, dude just crushes it. And it's like, if you let your perceptions...
Finish that. I'll touch on something else as well.
If you let your perceptions of people, or those perceived, what did you call it? I loved your word, like classist. It's like, if you're not 2 Comma Club, then you're not doing it. Well, I'm not 2 Comma Club, but I would still like to think that I could hang around you.
You kind of are. You are. You just haven't applied yet, right? But as well, if you think about our good buddy Liam Donnelly, right? If you saw him walking around an event, you're like, how did this surf bum with thongs on, how did he get into this event? Anyone else, unless you're here, and then start having a conversation with him. But if you were making assumption like just on the visual aspect, you'd be like, this guy's got holes in his boardies and he's wearing thongs and he's at this business event. It's like, is he one of the cleaners or something? Like, what's this guy doing?
Patriots beanie. You just will wear that beanie with the shorts. Anyway, Liam, we love you a lot. Like, you're the polar opposite of this, and he's like one of the most interesting marketers I know. He's very talented.
Super successful, like super talented. But again, it's like, it's so interesting that again, it could definitely be perceived in that way, I reckon, in my opinion.
I'll tell you what, I love that point, Kim. That's a really, really good one. So definitely don't shut down the borders, making sure that you don't be classist. But I would still say use some sort of filter. Like, don't walk around on the street just asking people.
True. That's not going to be successful. What about you? What's the number 2?
Well, number 2, this is, I'm going to say this is probably one of my most important, is that when you have a relationship with someone, so let's say you've started speaking to someone and you're wanting to grow a relationship, one of the best things I think you can do is spend some time understanding what's important to them and what they value. So, for instance, if in the example of you and me, Kim, is like, if I knew this week that it was important to send out a link to your webinars, because that's what was important to you, doing that's going to be important to you, not just giving the value I want to give. So I think there's a really important lesson there, is that when you're building relationships and you understand what is important to the people you're trying to build relationships, you know how to apply value and help them out in the best way possible.
Yeah, that's so true. Because it's always like, what's in it for them, right? Not what's in it for me. So I think that's so important on that point. It's good, and it kind of ties into my next point also, because one of the little things that I like to do. If your point's finished, by the way, I don't want to just segue straight into mine.
Segue, take it. You're the master on this topic. I'm just here to listen. I just wanted to know how.
Is making sure you understand, like, it's little things that you do that make the biggest difference, right? So I'll give an example again. It's like, I remember, and I've got probably one of my other superpowers is definitely good memory, right? Like, I have definitely a good memory of things, and if I hear something in conversation, I kind of asterisk it, archive it, and use it later. So when I first, again, like, it's just an easy conversation because it's a great relationship with Rhonda and Brian. Was that I remember that they said they came to Australia because Brian lived here and they were surfing, went down to Margaret River, and they went to Vas Felix, which is a winery down there. And they were like, that's our favorite wine in the whole world, right? Favorite wine in the whole world, and like, absolutely love it and blah, blah, blah. When I met them the first time, I was talking about Margaret River and everything else. And I was like, cool. It's like, when I come back, I was like, I'm definitely bringing a bottle of their Cab Sav from Vas Felix, whatever I can get. We can only bring one bottle into Bali per person, so we couldn't bring much. But when I bought it, they said, "Oh my god, Brian, did you tell Kim to get this?" And Rhonda's like, "No." Like, he's like, "Did you tell him?" He's like, "No." And it's like, "Oh, someone's got a good memory." And then there's like, so happy. One little thing, like, for not it's obviously a gesture, but it's like one little thing that was done purposefully with intent to go, cool, I know that they said this is their favorite in the world, like, I'm definitely going to get that for them. So every time I go now, I'll at least get a bottle of that and something else nice, because they don't get really good. The other gripe is in Bali, the wine's terrible. So I always try and bring one of them, and then with Lily, when we go, but together we try and get 2 bottles, so something else really nice that they can have, because it just makes their day or week, depending on how long it takes them to drink it, right? Every time they have a sip, it's good, but it's a purposeful gift with the intention, because I know it's something that they really, really, really like.
So that bottle of wine might be $50. Could be. I don't know. But I tell you what, I don't think there is a better $50 you could spend on that relationship. Like, the value provided against the cost is huge. So very, very good use of that point there. You know something that's important to them. And cheeky, you actually got me to bring a bottle of that wine to Bali for them. And now I know why. Well played. Very well played.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's like everyone wins from those points. So I think if you can do that, and then it's just like, not that you necessarily have to buy something, but maybe you hear that their kid's got something coming up and they want to do this, and you go, oh, even I just found this link about this thing for your child. Like, oh my God, you thought of it. Like for us, it just makes a big difference.
Huge difference. So what's the next point for Mr. Kim Barrett here? Or Lord Kim Barrett, I should say. Because I tell you what, you were dropping some absolute... That was your point. Oh, you've hidden it in the story. I was going to say these stories...
Pointception.
Well, I'll tell you what, even I'm learning from here, and as we've been kind of going along, I've been thinking about it going, wow, like some of this stuff I could really apply in a bigger level. Like even if you've been doing this a while, you kind of forget a little bit as well. You're going, okay, well, I should be putting a bit more effort into the relationships around me because they certainly are worth it and you can prosper heavily from the right ones. But I'll segue into my last point here for this episode, but this is one that I think is... when I got my head around this point here, and it was you that gave me this point, by the way, I really noticed a big increase in my relationships. And what it is that you give first and expect nothing back. Okay. So like my perception early on in business is that, it's you scratch your back. I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back. And when I shifted my perception to give value hard to the relationships you want to, I suppose, nourish and have flourish, and don't expect anything back, and just have, I suppose, an outstanding belief that it all comes back around. It's crazy how that became true. So that is such a huge point. Is there's people around you that you want to have relationships with, and what's holding you back is the reciprocation. Is like just go in hard without expecting anything to come back. And then the other side of things is, I think we as humans have this thing where we want things to be fair inevitably, like relationships should be 50-50. So the thing that I've come to is like, I'm completely cool with a 60-40 relationship, because if I'm still winning 40%, it's more than the 0% I would have been winning in not having the relationship. So things don't need to be even for a relationship to be great. And in the long run of things, they probably will be.
Well, I always think, I always want to have things dramatically stacked opposite. Like, I would rather have it 90-10, right? Because I know that every now and again, there's going to be something where, I may have to, it's the middle of the night. I've just been robbed. My bank account's been drained, and I need to call someone for 20 grand. I would love to have 50 people that I can call for that 20 grand at that point in time, because I've done so much for them. There's a book I read is called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And that was the whole thing. It's I'm going to dig 30 wells. I'm not really thirsty right now. I've got plenty of water, and I'm happy to see that if there is ever a case, not that I expect there to be, but if there is, I can get water from those wells if I need to.
Well, I'll put it this way, and as I said, you're the master of this in many, many ways. If something happened and there was an accident and you needed a body buried, you could call me and it would be, I don't think I could say no. I would be in. That's the type of relationship you've been able to cultivate. 20 grand seems like a downgrade compared to the depth of relationships you've built here. But I completely agree. Yeah. It's being able to pick up the phone in those types of situations and have people that will really help you can make all the difference in business.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's if you put a focus on that, it's you'll be amazed at the other things that happen as a byproduct, and you'll just, everything else kind of around you upgrades when you start operating in that way.
Absolutely. So I want to do a quick recap here before we end this episode. But the things that are standing out to me is number one is, I'm going to recap on mine and then bring yours in, is go be intentful with your relationships. Be a little bit strategic with the relationships you want to build, and cull relationships that you maybe haven't ended up that way so you can make room for new ones. Number two is, if you are going to build a relationship with someone, is understand what is important to them and what they value so you can help them the most. Number three is that when it comes to starting a relationship, be willing to give first and expect nothing in return. So coming back to Kim's point there about the idea of that if you do need help one day, that there'll be a bunch of people out there that are willing to pick up the phone and bury the bodies, in all honesty. Do you want to tack anything in on there as well, Kim?
I think that's it. And even my stories, I think, very much do that. I think it's, it's the whole thing is if you, and it's my favorite quote from Zig Ziglar, you help enough people get what they want, you get everything that you want. It's I literally have that sitting on my desk every day. And I think if you treat all the relationships like that, and you're intentful with what you do, then I think you get a pretty much guaranteed success.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. So we'll wrap this one up from here. This is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for joining us from here. And that's it.
Bye, guys.
See you later.